So, over the last 18 months or so, the entire tech world has just been turned completely upside down. And it's all because of one thing: artificial intelligence. I mean, it really felt like it happened overnight. One day we were all talking about crypto and the metaverse, and then boom, suddenly AI was everywhere. Okay, let's get into how this happened, and how one company, Nvidia, became the engine for it all.
To really get a sense of just how fast this all moved, just look at this quote. We're talking spring of 2022, and for some of the sharpest observers in tech, generative AI wasn't even a phrase on their radar. Fast forward a bit, and it's pretty much the only thing anyone is talking about. So, what in the world happened? The scale of this change can kind of be summed up with this one massive number: $1 trillion. A 1 with 12 zeros. That's the valuation Nvidia, a company that most people knew for making cards for PC gamers, just skyrocketed to. And that really brings us to the central question of our explainer. How did a graphics card company end up becoming the most critical piece of hardware for an entire technological revolution?
To answer that, we've got to start with the spark that lit the whole fuse. Nvidia's own CEO, Jensen Huang, he calls it AI's iPhone moment. That instant when this incredibly powerful technology finally got into the hands of millions of regular people.
And that moment, of course, was the launch of ChatGPT. See, this wasn't just some clunky research demo. It was a simple, easy-to-use tool that let literally anyone experience the magic of a large language model. And this unleashed a tidal wave of excitement. But more importantly, it created this frantic global demand for the raw computing power needed to build and run all these new AI tools.
But here's the thing. ChatGPT didn't just appear out of thin air. It was actually built on this revolutionary software breakthrough that had been quietly developed years earlier. It was all detailed in a 2017 research paper from Google that, well, it would go on to change everything.
It was called the transformer. Now, what made it so game-changing is that before this, AI models had to read a sentence one word at a time, sequentially. But the transformer architecture, it could look at all the words in a sentence, or hey, even a whole book, all at the same time. This was a completely different way of doing things.
Yeah, this slide here just lays it out perfectly. The old way, using these things called recurrent neural networks, was just slow. It was kind of like trying to read a novel through a straw. It couldn't hold much context in its memory. But transformers, with their parallel processing, could just gobble up and analyze enormous amounts of data all at once. This meant they could scale up in a way that was just impossible before. And the title of that Google paper? It says it all. Attention is all you need. This attention mechanism, as they called it, was the secret sauce. It let the model figure out the importance of different words in relation to each other, no matter where they were in the text. This unlocked a much, much deeper understanding of language and context. Okay, so the transformer was the software key, but to really unlock its power, you needed a very specific kind of hardware key. You needed hardware that could solve a problem that had been slowing down computers for, like, 50 years.
You see, most computers run on what's called the von Neumann architecture. The processor, the CPU, has to grab an instruction from memory, then grab the data from memory, then do the math, and then put the result back in memory. The problem is, it does this one step at a time, creating this massive traffic jam that we call the von Neumann bottleneck. For the kind of parallel number crunching transformers need, this was a total dead end.
And this is where Nvidia comes crashing into the story. Graphics processing units, GPUs, were designed from the very beginning to do thousands of simple calculations all at the same time. That's how you render all the pixels on a screen for a video game, right? Well, it turns out that this parallel design made them the absolute perfect hardware match for the Transformers parallel software. The software key had finally found its hardware lock. Now, this wasn't just some happy accident. For more than a decade, Nvidia had been strategically, methodically building a whole new kind of computing platform. And it was all guided by this powerful and, frankly, incredibly forward-thinking vision from its CEO. Jensen Huang's big idea was this: to solve the world's biggest problems, you can't just think about one server at a time. You have to treat the entire data center as one single, gigantic computer. And pretty much every major decision they made flowed from that one simple concept. And you can literally see this strategy playing out over years. It all started way back in 2006 with CUDA. That's the software that let developers use GPUs for stuff other than graphics. Then, fast forward to 2019, they dropped $7 billion on a company called Mellanox for its super-fast networking tech, the glue you need to link thousands of these GPUs together. And finally, they built their own CPU, Grace, creating a completely integrated, top-to-bottom optimized system. So at the end of the day, Nvidia wasn't just selling computer chips. They were selling the whole package, a full-stack solution. CUDA gave them an army of developers who only knew how to build on their platform. Mellanox gave them the high-speed nervous system. And their DGX systems, they just wrapped it all up into a ready-to-go AI supercomputer in a box. Nobody else could offer the whole shebang. So what happens when over a decade of careful, strategic preparation smacks right into a once-in-a-generation technological breakthrough? Well, the numbers that result are, honestly, they're almost hard to believe. Just look at this chart. It's basically a vertical line. In just one 3-month period, Nvidia's data center revenue more than doubled. We're talking from over $4 billion to over $10 billion in one quarter. This wasn't just growth, it was an absolute explosion. It was the world screaming for AI compute power. And this right here, this is the beast that's fueling the fire, the H100 GPU. Each one of these is a 70-pound monster that costs about $40,000. And it's 9 times faster at AI training than the chip that came before it, which was already incredibly powerful. Right now, this thing is the undisputed king of AI hardware, and companies are literally buying them by the tens of thousands.
So, there you have it. Nvidia masterfully played the long game, transforming itself from a gaming company into the essential, indispensable arms dealer for the entire AI revolution. They had the vision, they executed flawlessly, and they were ready when their moment arrived. The big question that remains for all of us now is, what comes next? Is this really the dawn of a whole new era of computing? Or are we just watching the peak of the biggest tech bubble we've ever seen? Only time is going to tell.